Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Daryl. Welcome back to this Python for Finance series. In the previous lessons, we just learned how to build a MACD crossover trading strategies, and we backtest our strategies for the past 2 years with more than 500 trading days, which generated around $200 per lot or 200 points if you are talking about trading futures. Now it's time for us to build another algorithmic trading bot. For this time, we built a RSI crossover trading strategies. And again, we backtest these strategies with more than 500 trading day samples, which generated more than $400 per lot or more than 400 points. This is a lot, even if we are talking about just having one single contract, say E-mini S&P 500 futures contract. Because for future, it has a dollar multipliers. For E-mini S&P 500 futures contract, it has a $50 multipliers for each point per contract. So it's like having a profit of $20,000 by just trading a single contract throughout the last 2 years. So let's see how we built this profitable trading bot. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we dive into the trading strategies, there are one thing that I would like to fix. You can see that the RSI, MACD, and also the main chart, the x-axis are not quite aligned. This is mainly because there are some NAN values. Say for example, for RSI, the first 13 points are with NAN values. And then for the MACD, the first 11 points are NAN values. On the other hand, main chart start at 8 o'clock. There's no NAN value. So you can see, even though the chart is correct, but the x-axis are not quite aligned over here. Although it would not affect our tradings, I would like to fix this bug. In that case, I will just give a 0 value for this NAN and 0 value for this NAN, and then I'm not going to visualize the result over here. But in that case, it will allow me to fix these misalignment issue. So there are just few minor changes for these two subplots. If I move on to the MACD, what I need to do is to fill the NAN value with 0. This is the first changes. And then for the second change is that I would like to make this 0 line transparent, even I'm plotting that. And in that case, I will need to create one more plot. Even though they are using the same set of the data, it will separate them by where the values that is equals to 0. I will make this a transparent line. On the other hand, where there's a value that is non-zero, then it will continue with the color in white. In that case, if the value is equal to 0, I will set this as a alpha 0, and that means all the values or the line is transparent. In that case, I will add a numpy where to check these conditions. If that is equal to 0, I will just keep these values, and then if not, just keep it as none. On the other hand, if this data is not equal to 0, and then I will just set these values back to the original data, and then just in case, and otherwise just set it none. And similarly, we can just make these conditions to the second line for the MACD, and this is for the signal line. And let me add these conditions, and if that is equals to 0, and if that is not equals to 0, and in this case I will set it back to the original values, otherwise just set it none. For this, again, set it none. If that is not equals to 0, just set it as the original data. If that is equals to 0, just set it none. So just add these two lines over here. This is the second change, and that will fix the issue for the MACD subplot. Now let's move on to fix the RSI subplot. And then for the third changes over here, I will just fill the 0 for the NAN. And for this one, I will no longer use the x-axis. This is the third changes. And then for the fourth changes, just similar to what we've done. If the value is equal to 0, we will just make the line. On the other hand, if the value that is non-zero, we will just give it a white color and line width equals to 1. And in this case, again, we will use the numpy where to help us to do that. Numpy where, if the data is equals to 0, just keep the data, otherwise none. And then for these data, make these lines to be transparent. And then on the other hand, if the value is not equals to 0, so just draw a line, draw a white line for that. And these 4 minor changes will help us to fix the x-axis misalignment issues. The second minor change is that I find that very often we will use the exponential moving average. So in that case, I also want to add these functions that show EMA in this main plot chart. So just in case if there's someone that would like to add these exponential moving average functions, that will allow them to do so. And for just a quick definitions, for the exponentials, EMA's exponentials moving average, which is a type of moving average that places a greater weight and significance on the most recent data points. Instead, for the moving average, it would just give a average weight or the average significance for each of the points. So there's a little bit difference in terms of the definitions. So here again, if there's someone that would like to use the EMA, I will just allow them to do so. And for this one, this is show EMA. And then to calculate the EMA, again, we are using the closing price for that. And pandas already have an exponential weighted moving average functions that allow us to do so. And for this one, for the EWM, that is the functions for the EMA. and then the spans, that is 20 data points, which is commonly used by the trader, and adjust equals to 4, and then we'll take the mean, and that means we are going to have a 20 periods EMA. So I will just rename it as EMA 20 periods. And again, we can simply show the result. Say, for example, if we say, maybe use this color, that is a blue color. In that case, just change it to the EMA 20. And then this is a 20, say this is your 20 periods EMA. And for that reasons, maybe we can also change this 5 periods EMA, 10 periods, sorry, SMA, 10 periods SMA, and 20 periods SMA. And to show the result, I might want to add one, or that is the show EMA. And if I move fonts to, make sure we have these arguments over here. Just want to make sure that EMA is equals to true. And by default, this is equal to true as well. Now let's see if we've done this correctly. Just take a quick look on that. And now we have the exponential moving average, and also you can see the x-axis are aligned for these three charts. Excellent. Now let's build the RSI strategies. The logics for the RSI strategy is very similar to the MACD strategies that we presented in the last lessons. So I will not repeat that, but I will just copy these strategies. So I copy the MACD strategies, and then we name this as a RSI strategies. Of course, I'm not going to use the MACD data. For these reasons, I will just change these data to RSI, and you can simply find this in the RSI part, and this is the functions to help us to calculate the RSI. So for this one, just change this to a RSI, use the TA method to help us to calculate the RSI with the use of the closing price, and the periods just keep it as a 14, and then we will assign it back to the columns RSI. And of course, we need to change a little bit of the logic. Let's take a look on the RSI trading strategies. Just like what I mentioned before, when the value of RSI is below 30, and there's a oversold situations, And when the value is over 70 and there's an overbought situations, and in that case we would like to have an entry point for each of the zones. So for example, there's a oversold zone, we want to find an entry point for buying the stock or for a long situations. On the other hand, when there's a overbought, when the stock is on the overbought zone, that means we want to find an entry point for short selling the stock or short selling the market. And in this case, we will find a crossover point, that is when the value is below 30 and then it becomes higher than 30. That is a crossover point between these 30 threshold. In that case, we will buy the stock or we will long the market. On the other hand, when the price is coming from 70 down to a values below 70, in that case, we will short the market or we will sell the stock. So just a very quick recap. When the RSI values changing from a value below 30 to a value higher than 30, in that case, we will buy the stock. On the other hand, when the RSI is from 70 and to a value below 70, in that case, we will sell the stock. Now, let's set up the logic. In that case, we will check whether or not we will have a RSI value first. Just in case if we do not have any RSI value, of course, we will not enter any trade. And of course, at the very beginnings, just like what we did in the RSI or in the MACD, we are not going to have any trade at the starting point. And then on the other hand, if we do not have an RSI value, we are not going to trade as well. The first logic that I would like to have is that the RSI is in the previous value is less than 30, and then the RSI is at the current value is larger than 30, and that is a buying signal. And again, just like what we did in the MACD trading strategies, in that case, we will check whether or not we have a sell positions. If we have a sell positions, in that case, we will just sell our stock, sell our holding positions. On the other hand, if we do not have any short selling positions, we will buy the stock or long the market. And then in that case, the buy positions will just change it to true. And then finally, just in case, if we do not have a sell positions, but we already entered the market, we are holding a stock or holding a long positions, in that case, we will do nothing. So these logics are exactly the same that we have for the MACD strategies. Let me just have a very quick recap on this. At the very beginnings, we will check whether or not we have any RSI indicator. If we do not have any RSI indicators, we are not going to buy and we are not going to sell. And once we have the RSI data, we will then check the previous status and compare it with the current status. And in these situations, we wanted to check whether or not the RSI values in the previous steps, in the previous minutes, is less than 30. And at the same time, we wanted to make sure that the current time frame has a RSI values that is larger than 30. And then it will give us a buying signal, just like here. So the value is changing from a value below 30 to a value higher than 30. So we just check this logic. In that case, this is a buying signal. We will then check whether or not we have any short selling positions. if we have a short selling positions, of course, we will just buy the stock and then complete this trade. So you can see that the sell positions over here is equals to true, and then we will set it equals to false after this trade because it just completes the entire trade. And just in case if we do not have any sell positions, we would like to buy the stock. So in that case, you can see that the buy positions will change to true. And finally, in that case, if we do not have any selling positions and we already have a buying positions, in that case, we're not going to buy an extra stock or further long the market. In that case, we will just do nothing. And this completes the first part, the buying signal. And then we need to check whether or not there's any selling signal. That is our second part. And for this case, we will check the first hold, and the first hold is 70. For this time, again, we will use RSI. For this one, we will use RSI. For this time, we will check whether or not the RSI in previous step is higher than 70. And then at current step, whether or not this is less than 70. In that case, it represents these situations. That is the values of the RSI is coming from over 70 to below 70. And in this case, this is a selling signal. So in that case, there are three scenarios as well. We have the selling signal just in case if we already have the stock, and so it's the time for us to sell the stock. So in that case, we will just change these buy positions to buy positions equals to false. So in that case, we just complete the trade because we already buy the stock and it's time for us to sell the stock. So we just complete the trades, and you can see that the buy position and also the sell positions are equals to false. On the other hand, just in case if we are not holding any positions, we do not have any positions at this point, in that case, we want to short the market. So we will just short the market, and you can see we do not have a buy positions, and also we do not have a sell positions in that case because we have a selling signal, so we will short the market. And the final scenario is that just in case if we've already short the market, we do not want to we do not want to enter another contract or enter another short contract, so we will do nothing. And then finally, if we do not have this selling signal, or if we do not have this buying signal, we will just continue to do nothing. So this else is somewhere in between here, the RSI value. So there's no buying, there's no oversold or overbought situations, and there's no entry points. So we will do nothing. And then for this else, this means that we do not have any RSI values, so we will do nothing. That means because we're using our SI 14, it means for the 30 minutes, we are not going to do any trade. And finally, because we are talking about day trade, we do not want to hold any positions overnight. Therefore, whenever the trade is an odd number, that means we cannot settle the last trade. If the last trade is a buy, we will just remove that trade. And if the last trade is a sell, we will also remove that trade. And in these situations, we will just give an NAN back to the buy list, and then another NumPy NAN for the sell list, and then also remove the last record in the record list. And finally, just like what we did before, we just put this buy list and sell list back to the original data frame and return the data frames and also the record list. And for this data frame, it will allow us to visualize the trade. And then for this record, it will help us to record the trades and also calculate the daily profit as well as the total profit from these strategies. And the final thing that I need to do is just to put these strategies back to the main plot. And over here, I will just comment these MACD strategies and then make this RSI strategy live. So let's run this to make sure we build this trading bot successfully. Excellent, we just built the trading bot successfully. Let me show you one example. Over here, you can see that the RSI is changing from a values that is less than 30 to a values that is higher than 30. That means there's a buying signal. In that case, we'll just buy the stock. And then over here, you can see that the RSI value has been dropped from a values that is higher than 70 to a value that is less than 70. So that means it will trigger a selling signal. So these two will complete that trade. And on the other hand, for this one, you can see when we do not have when we do not hold any stock, in that case, it will allow us to short sell the stocks or short the market. In that case, there's a signal that is an entry signal for selling the stock. So in that case, that we short the market. On the other hand, here you can see that the RSI values change from a value below 30 to a values that is higher than 30. In that case, it will just trigger this trade to settle these pairs of trades. And finally, we will have another buying signal over here, and we will enter the market, and we have another selling signal over here, and then we will just sell the stock and complete these two trades. And just like what I mentioned at the very beginning, with the use of the RSI crossover strategies, you can and backtest these strategies with the data in the past 2 years. You can see that the total profits are more than $400 per lot, or more than 400 points when you're talking about trading futures. And that is pretty awesome. I will continue to build different strategies. So see you in the next video. Bye bye.